Exercise is best for depression. This is from SciPost, big old study. This is really cool. While traditional treatments such as therapy and medication can be effective, our new research highlights the importance of exercise in managing these conditions. Our recent study, published by the British Journal of Sports Medicine, reviewed more than 1,000 research trials examining the effects of physical activity on depression, anxiety, and psychological distress. It showed exercise is an effective way to treat mental health issues and can be even more effective than medication or counseling. The largest improvements, as self-reported by the participants, that's relevant, were seen in people with depression, HIV, kidney disease, in pregnant and postpartum women, in healthy individuals, though clear benefits were seen for all populations. We found the higher the intensity of exercise, the more beneficial it is, and exercising for 6 to 12 weeks has the greatest benefits rather than shorter periods. When comparing the size of the benefits of exercise to other common treatments for mental health conditions from previous systematic reviews, our findings suggest exercise is around 1.5 times more effective than either medication or cognitive behavioral therapy. What? Mm-hmm. That's insane. Why is this not on all the headlines? What is going on?
In my estimation, we have a bit of an erythritol situation here.
I'm glad with erythritol. I'm bummed about this one. Okay.
Yeah. And honestly, with a lot of these studies, reading these studies, it's important for Joey and I, for Tyler, to read them and get an understanding for them. And even though Joey and I went to pharmacy school and we had biostatistics courses and we had courses that, were to help us interpret scientific literature, this is no joke. Trying to not only understand what the studies have done, but looking for bias, trying to make sure the methods are sound.
Right.
And then you factor something in like a systematic review who takes a bunch of different studies,
over
puts them together.
1,000.
Right. And so then, the point is it's a challenge. So often I will defer to different epidemiologists who it's literally their job is to look at the big picture, kind of oftentimes they end up being the ones to put a little bit of a damper on an observational trial, or, putting a bit of a damper on a headline that's out there, that kind of thing. So there is a dude on Twitter, Health Nerd, who is an epidemiologist. He's brilliant. And I often look to see what his what his take is on different studies. And he did point out a few different things that I noticed as well. So we'll just chip away at some things, the pros, the cons, the takeaways, it's not that this is a total erythritol type situation where we're going to end up saying that you should quit exercising or something.
Exercise isn't helping. Stop it.
It doesn't go that far. But so an example of kind of what I'm saying here is there were 97 reviews within this, entire study. Most of them, 77 out of the 97, had a critically low AmStar rating. And so AmStar is just a tool that, that gives you criteria to rate other systematic reviews. And so basically 77 out of 97 of them were critically low. So they were almost, I wouldn't say like they were junk studies per se, but they were studies that you have to kind of take with a grain of salt.
Got it.
Basically, on a fundamental level. And only 7 of them were rated as high quality.
They were the erythritol of studies.
They were, exactly.
Taste sweet, but not a lot of content.
So yeah. So to kind of set the stage with that, we're not necessarily we're not necessarily operating on even ground.
Got it.
So there's just a flaw kind of right off the bat.
I'll bump in for a second. What is CBT? You mentioned cognitive behavioral therapy. What is that?
And I guess that's what's tough, because then I didn't want to go in a direction where I started like saying what Dante said in like my own ways, because I didn't go into the depth that he did. And there was a couple of reasons, besides just that takes a lot of work and effort. That number one is because I know exercise is good. Yeah. So even if the details of this I can't hang my hat on, the general gist of it, I feel is positive. So I kind of go into a mode, just being honest, where then I'm almost like erythritolling it, like this, like they did in the study, where you've got that's the version you want to go with, as they did in the study. So they kept rolling with it.
Yeah.
And I have a tendency to do something where I know the overall greater good is here, so I rolled that way. Now, where I think that it becomes problematic, and this is where I'll segue into CBT, is that when they start saying it's more effective than medication or CBT, that's when it gets a little scary, is because now you're challenging the standards and you're challenging other good things.
Right.
So instead of just saying that exercise is good, they had to take it to that point and say it's better than CBT, because exercise is difficult to do for the average person if you're not doing it. And so is CBT.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're more prone to be able to exercise than CBT, or maybe you've hit a plateau with CBT or whatever. Now you're going to like change gears and say, well, this is more effective anyway, or I don't like this medication, I'm going off of my med. Now you've entered this whole thing. So that's where my problem with it was like the ultimate conclusion, more so maybe than Dante's kind of hit on the details. I'm hitting on kind of the overarching issue.
No, I mean, I guess that's what I wanted to get to.
Yeah.
Really, was how can you then make such a bold claim if 77 out of 97 of these are kind of like shaky to begin with?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's mine was just one leg.
Definitely
in favor of that.
Definitely.
For sure.
And for sure. And I think that, so then just to kind of get to the question. So CBT, there's different ways you could frame it. Then there's more technical ways, but basically it's an assumption that some of the issues that you're having psychologically are due to faulty or unhelpful ways of thinking.
Okay.
So basically, yes, you're having a psychological issue like anxiety, let's say, and it's because your brain you've trained your brain for whatever reason to maybe soothe or comfort or to respond in a certain way that's harmful. So what you do with CBT is you say, well, here's the issue and here's how I normally think. Well, here's another way to think. And it's a training, it's like a retraining of your brain psychologically to say, hey, when I have to public speak, or this is the extreme example, when I have to give a speech and I'm instantly nervous because it's scary to me, I need to think of it that how I'll feel afterwards and the accomplishment, and then I'm prepared. And that's a very simple example in the most like kind of extreme, most obvious anxieties. Then you start getting into things about, trauma and things like that. It gets very tricky.
Right.
So I think that was tricky too, was that, CBT is so critical and relatively new and cutting edge for how you treat a lot of these issues that are psychological. But then they went into, it was most effective for HIV and pregnancy. Yeah. And I'm like, what is that about? Wait, like what does CBD have to do with HIV? I know that then those are like secondary issues. Right. You can have some psychological issues if you have HIV because you're dealing with this hideous condition. Right. Or because for a pregnant woman, your body's changing and you're under all these stresses. Hormones are all over the place. Yeah. So those are like secondary though. Yeah. The anxiety is the primary thing you're dealing with. And I could see measuring that. But when they were measuring benefits in HIV, I'm like, well, I don't know. They're really dealing with something secondary here. And then comparing it to CBT, I don't know. I thought that's definitely where it got a little wonky for me.
Yeah. No, I think it's why it's always hard to like, it's like you dichotomize these treatments and these things. And it just, I don't know. It makes for a tough conversation. It's like, really it comes down to like, what kind of language are we using? We have to make sure we say this the right way. We're not saying that exercise is bad and that it's not important for somebody with HIV. Right. It's just, you're really digging deep to try to make the claim, to try to make the deeper claims.
It seems like it makes really great headlines, but not such great science.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And the, one of the other big parts of this that caused me some problems was that in the selection criteria in the search strategy part of the study, they mentioned that after careful consideration and discussion, we decided to exclude reviews where greater than 25% of component randomized controlled trials compared physical activity to pharmaceutical interventions. And so they
translate that. What does that mean?
Yeah. So they basically,
as they're determining which studies to include,
they excluded the studies that compared exercise to medication.
Wait, what? But they just made the claim that it works better.
The ultimate point of this. That's crazy.
I mean, it's in there in plain writing.
Wow.
So
I did not catch that.
So I don't know. I don't know if that's like, I wouldn't go as far as saying like this was a case of cherry picking or whatever to strengthen what they showed. I wouldn't go that far, but it's odd. I mean, it's definitely an odd part of this. And so, yeah, I don't know. I wanted to make sure we didn't miss that.
I'm so frustrated by this.
Mm-hmm. You know, to use the erythritol example, for somebody who has diabetes, adding some erythritol to your diet to, again, replace a sugar sweetened beverage, that could be a great strategy. But that person may also just have they might just have higher erythritol in their blood as an artifact of the diabetes or of different conditions that they have, right?
Right.
Physical activity for somebody who doesn't have these depressive symptoms or symptoms of anxiety, exercise that they're doing is like an artifact of being in a good mental state, right? So I think that's kind of what Joey was saying too. And then again, that doesn't mean we don't want to like recommend exercise,
right?
But trying to slap exercise down as a treatment potentially just doesn't make any sense.
That gets a little scary.
It does. I mean,
especially in place of.
It's an adjunct. Mm-hmm. Yes, in place of. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, for a lot of people, it's a correlative measure. You know what I mean? People that have hemoglobin A1C within range, or they don't have hypertension. They're often the same people that exercise,
right?
But that doesn't necessarily mean that it was the exercise that was the treatment that caused X and Y, or the exercise was what caused the depressive, the symptoms of depression to go away. So in some of this,
it's kind of a chicken and egg. We're not really sure which is here first.
Yeah, and that's definitely part of it.
Yeah, I think too, I just looked up benefits of exercise, or whenever I was putting this together. And again, these are very broad terms. They're not black or white in terms of their effect. But we just look at some of the benefits. Inflammation helps lower inflammation, helps lower oxidative stress on the body, helps the endocrine system.
Yeah.
And you say, how? Well, there are certain exercises that over time increase your testosterone.
Yeah.
Could be low in a man, could be help, bone building in women over time, your health. Your blood sugar levels helps to increase insulin sensitivity. When your blood sugar's off, you can have plenty of mood issues. And it's helping with that. And I think the other thing I've found, self-esteem.
Yeah.
Things like that we know, and it's helping all these things. The one that really hit me was self-efficacy. And I had to look up the term. I mean, you kind of can infer what it means, but what does it really mean?
Yeah.
Belief and ability to execute behaviors necessary to promote specific performance attainments. So basically, it's a marker of your ability to get motivated and to achieve certain things. If you've worked out you hit your goal of three times that week, or whatever your goal is. So it reflects confidence in the ability to exert control over one's own motivation, behavior in certain environments, social environments. So I think you start to get into that. It's a mix of self-esteem and self-efficacy that you start to feel better about yourself, that then you're sort of extrapolating that potential to a relationship or to your work or whatever, that you're hitting certain goals, you're improving in this way, you're healthier. You've got some endocrine benefits, self-esteem benefits. You've got some endorphin rush. You've got all these things kind of building that can help you in other ways.
Right.
That's not in this study.
Right.
And it does not, again, go back to that means that it's 1.5 times as effective as CBD for people with kidney disease or medication. I can get a medication for kidney disease.
Right.
But
it's just that you automatic the tendency, the reaction is to read those things and then just say, well, that's a perfect treatment.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, that's the law. That's the
why
reasoning.
would I take an antidepressant with all the side effects?
I'm mad. I'm going to go to a personal trainer. I'm sick of CBT. I've been doing it for 4 weeks. It's not doing what I want it to do. It's hard. I'm not able to do it. It's hard to put into practice, so I'm going to stop going. And now a month later, I'm going to my personal trainer. And those are things that all need to be combined. And
for sure, they're all pieces of that puzzle.
Yeah.
But you're exactly right. And it's, again, it's it's our natural reaction to want to infer that is a treatment, but the data is simply not there.
Right.
It's simply not there.
So you should exercise. It's may
super great for you.
Help reduce your depression or your anxiety. It may give you all of these psychological benefits, but you don't do it expressly for that reason.
Or in lieu of.
But you definitely don't do it in lieu of other forms of treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Headlines leading us astray.
Yeah. I mean, seriously. I mean, it's like the antidepressants, for example. That step is what helps people get out of bed.
Yes.
And so
get to therapy.
You can't go to the gym. You can't go to your garage. You can't get outside if you're still not over step 1 and 1A, 1B, 1C. You know what I mean?
That's a great point.
Well, that was one of the things that I thought was hilarious was that article said 1.5 times more effective than these other things. And all I could think was, why not both? Right. Why not all of the above?
Yeah, exactly.
Even if it does work that well, why not just add it on?
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like that would be a better option than replacing, and turns out it is.
Yeah. The study saying exercise is good for you gets no headlines. But unfortunately, where we are with everything from politics to studies is you're kind of mentally going for the hottest headline and the hottest resolution that you can get so that you get the likes and the promotes, and that's unfortunately just where everything is.